Hi everybody, I'm Marcia McKerrow
And I am Carol Cooper.
and we're here today with Claire De la Haye, who's the musical director for the Bel Canto Ladies Choir. Hello Claire.
Hello Marcia and Carol, hi.
Hi, good to see you Claire. Thank you for giving up your time today to be with us. Claire, have you got a website address or a YouTube address that you can give out so people know how to find you?
The best place to find us is if you look on Facebook and go to @Bel Canto Baslow, and also you can search at my own name, Claire De la Haye. My surname is DE space LA space HAYE, and then you'll see details of who you'll be able to contact me, or details of all the other choirs and musical activities.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Claire. Claire, I want to start off by asking you about your early years. How old were you when you started singing?
Very young. I'd sung since being a toddler in all sorts of things at school, but first joined a choir more formally when I was 9, opera group when I was 10, and then an international choir when I was 11.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, very young.
Yeah, very young indeed. So where did your love for music and singing come from? Were your parents involved in singing?
Well, funnily enough, both parents started singing at about the same time as I did. In fact, they joined the opera group with me, same day, when I was 10. But there'd always been classical music in our house all the time, things playing from opera, ballet, and we had a record player which I loved. So it was with us always.
Fantastic. So who were your early musical inspirations?
So many people really, and actually in very early days, from the people whose records I had a lovely old record of Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto, and Vladimir Ashkenazy was the pianist in that, and I just thought he was superb from the record sleeve, so I'd have that. But yes, lots of people really.
Fantastic. So I know, because I've looked at your YouTube channel and I've done a little bit of research around what you do, that Bel Canto actually refers to a particular style of operatic singing. So I wanted to ask you about Bel Canto's sound and how would you best describe it?
Okay, yes, we do have the term Bel Canto. It's not strictly speaking all Bel Canto singing, because as you well know, it's a very particular Italian style. We're very pure choral sound, wide open vowels, and we probably sit somewhere between what you'd imagine with a more cathedral-based choir and operatic. So somewhere in the middle, and we sing a broad variety of music.
Fantastic, thank you.
Hello, Claire. I would like to ask you if you would talk us through your achievements that you've had throughout your musical journey.
Gosh, well, from being very young, musically, when I was in the City of Sheffield Girls Choir, which was at that time in the 1980s quite renowned, we had a lot of success. We won a lot of competitions, from winning Choir of the World in Vienna to Sainsbury's Choir of the Year, 3 years on the trot, always at the Welsh Eisteddfods, and singing major events. So now I look back, at the time when you're a child you take these things for granted, but now I look back I think, wow, that was an incredible achievement and to look back at. But then moving on, I went and did a music degree, and then moved into a completely different sphere. I did marketing, realised I had to make a living, and eventually ended up with my own business. I'd been in London, came back, worked with a colleague to set up a business up north, and really music took a back seat. And I started bit by bit doing things purely for pleasure. And I took the lead in a range of musicals. I learnt to dance so that I could play things like Jackie and Me and My Girl, and absolutely loved it. So I was very proud of that at the time. And then somebody said to me, would you ever be interested in running a choir? And something just clicked, and I'd said it to a few people. I said, do you know, I really think I could do that. I could coach a choir. I'd love to do it. And I think it's just played in my head. And when the opportunity came around, that's what I jumped at. So now, if you ask me today what today is your biggest achievement, that's for me my biggest thing. Starting my first choir, I now have 4, and I'm so proud of every person that's involved.
Yeah.
And they're all wonderful, and I have heard them, and they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Claire, you haven't always been in the music industry, I know, and you spent some years in London co-owning a marketing business with bases in Derbyshire and Cheltenham. What was the pull that got you back north?
The love of being up and back north, really. There was a bit of a hiatus in, what was I doing? One job in London when I was working in a marketing role, and I thought to myself, well, I'm going to move home, and I did. I actually moved home to be with my mum. She wasn't so well for a little while, so I did that, and then started off again up north. I hadn't got too far in my career, and really just stayed in around Sheffield and the Peak District, which I think I've always wanted to be in the Peak District. So, you know, gradually I was working my way back there.
Yeah, absolutely. And were there sacrifices that you had to make to get you where you are today? And what were they?
Goodness. Certainly, I think in any career, if you take a decision not to go to the hubs of that, and at that time I was in marketing, we would have probably grown faster, things would have been easier having been in London or a major centre like Manchester, but I was quite determined that I needed to be in the countryside. I'm not a city person. And equally musically, one of my ambitions actually has sprung out of thinking, well, why should everything happen in the cities? Why could that just be there? And I want it to be available for everybody here in the Peak District as well. So,
Claire,
this is your question.
do you, that's wonderful. That is a wonderful description of where you are now. But Claire, do you have any regrets at all?
I don't. The one thing I'd say, and I'd say it to everybody if it's human nature, is I wish I'd practiced more when I was a child. The level of ability to absorb and learn off doing something like 3 minutes practice a day is extraordinary what you can do. And 3 minutes as an adult doesn't do much for you at all, does it? But I do wish I'd done a lot more practice earlier on. And I regret in a way that I had a gap from music, but it's made me appreciate it so much more. Yeah. So coming back to that in my sort of late 30s, early 40s, I will never take it for granted again now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So Claire, would you say you had a strong faith? And what was the role that your faith has played in shaping the person you are today?
I do. I have a very strong Christian faith, which I'm very grateful for. It's had an enormous role. Some people might say that some of the opportunities that have presented themselves and come along the way, and the options that I've taken, have been down to fate or good luck. But I fully believe it is the things that God has presented me with as nudging me in certain directions. And I've become very involved with our local church in Baslow and asked to run the church choir there, or start a new church choir, because many years there'd been no choir at all. And it is such a joy, and I see what a lot of the people that come to that get from it, and the community that comes out of a choir is absolutely extraordinary. So I think it's shaped everything I do, and now I have become far more involved in the church as a result of it.
Thank you, Claire.
Would you say, Claire, that in terms of the numbers of people that you've got in your various choirs, did you say you've got 4 separate choirs that you run?
Do.
Are they? There's one that's obviously the Bel Canto is a ladies' choir. Are the other choirs mixed?
The church choir is a mixed choir. Yes, it's a mixed adult choir. I have Young Voices, which is a children's choir. From the age of 8 to 14, and then as well as Bel Canto, we have the Bel Canto Chamber Choir, which is a much smaller group of just 10 people who sing in very close harmony, and we really train quite hard and have quite a lot heavier commitment than the wider choir. So, yeah.
So in terms of the other choirs that you have, what sort of numbers do you have in those?
The church choir, gosh, I should know, shouldn't I? Is around 14 people, But with the nature of that, we have a lot of, there's a lot of older people, and will come and go when they're well, when things happen.
Yes,
and I believe in allowing people to have the real flexibility. If they can't make some rehearsals, I don't mind. I'd rather they came and were involved when they can and when they feel okay, rather than it ever being a pressure for them, because I think that's not the way it works, and that's not going to help in a church setting either. Likewise with Bel Canto, it's a community choir, and so people come along to that, and at times people have got problems in the family, as we all do, don't we? And they've got children problems, and they can't get a babysitter, and there's all these things that go on, and we deal with that, and we support each other.
Yeah, fabulous. So how would you, Claire, define success?
I think it's being comfortable in your own skin, and where you are in your life. If you feel comfortable and happy in what you're doing, then for me, that's success.
And would you then describe yourself as someone that's successful by that definition?
I feel really successful and lucky in that sense. Yes, I do. Worry about saying that. Somebody said to me once, when you say to yourself that everything's absolutely great, it's because you're being prepared for something around the corner. But I hope that's not the case.
No.
But yes, I love where the people I work with, from the church to the different choirs, to I work in a school as well, part-time, and I just enjoy the whole mix, and being in Peak District, and being here for my family as well. So yes.
Fantastic.
Great. And reflecting on your experiences, Claire, how do you think you've supported others to achieve their goals and aspirations?
I hope a lot. In terms of the choirs, I think possibly goals and aspirations are quite have become a surprise to some people. The ambition that people suddenly find they've got to be able to sing and be involved in things, to learn music. I run music reading classes for people in the mornings so that they can really get to grips with the music sometimes. And I just find the passion that people have got to have a go, the difference it's made in their lives. I think that's the main thing, really. I've had people who have one of the people in the choir is a solicitor, and we didn't have a choir rehearsal for, I think it was because it was after Easter, and she said I couldn't cope the whole week. It affected my whole week because I found I was pent up. I didn't have that outlet for my in my life. So that, but equally I've got people who are poorly in the choirs, and we did a film with the BBC for Peak Practice, because one of our choir members has fibromyalgia and is in constant pain, and it's the only time she's out of pain. So and she pushes herself to sing and to be involved. She doesn't need to, but she does because she wants to, and she's given her something to work towards. There's so many different little vignettes. It's lovely.
Great.
So what does the future hold then, Claire, for you on a personal, professional level, and also for Bel Canto Ladies Choir and the other choirs that you...
Yes. Well, I would like to grow the choirs more, and I have an ambition, a sort of two-pronged ambition, that where we are here in Baslow will end up being like the King's College, Cambridge of the Peak District, but also inspired really by the New Year's concert that they hold in Vienna. I want to hold concerts of that scale and that are that good here, and I've actually taken up with pulling on my marketing background and the fact I used to run major events, and I've booked a big event in December on the Chatsworth Estate, with an international soprano joining us, and that'll be Bel Canto in concert with Debbie Norman, and a whole Christmas concert. So I'm hoping to go down that route and open up lots more opportunities for the ladies to sing in wonderful places.
Fantastic. Sounds
That's
brilliant.
really special. That's wonderful, and a wonderful thing for the choirs to look forward to as well. Absolutely. Claire, I know you have given us details about where people can get a hold of you. Is there anything more you can think of before we conclude today? Any more detail, or have you given enough?
I'm if anybody is interested or would like to contact me, I'm more than happy for people to contact me directly. My email address is Claire, CLAIRE, .Delahaye, DELAHAYE, @hotmail.co.uk. Very happy to talk about music and choirs, etc.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We'll make sure that your email address actually goes on to the video link as well, so people have got access to that, as well as where else to find you. Claire, at the end of the interviews, Carol and I like to pull together some themes that have come out of what you've been discussing. So you might have seen us scribbling away as you've been talking, without seeing the tops of our heads as you've been answering the questions. But I've just got a few points here, and then I'll pass over to Carol for her to pick up on what she's taken away. The first thing for me that comes across listening to you is your passion for what you do. I mean, nobody watching this can deny that you have that passion for choirs and delivering and the music in general, and using that passion in a field that you love.
Yes, completely.
Fantastic. And that's a message to all of us, isn't it? Use your passion.
It is. If you can possibly take any opportunity to go in the direction in which might present it to yourself, that leads you to be able to go with something you love. There's nothing better. Yeah.
You talked about, you didn't use these words, but you talked about finding your uniqueness. And you did talk about being yourself in singing.
Yes.
And I think that's the same in life. Be yourself, because that will reap its own rewards. For me, that's a real big one. Because as you know, being in business, and particularly being in the marketing side of business, we often have to sort of not blend, but make ourselves into something that's not always true to who we are to get an end result. But actually, that almost seems like an old school of thought, really. Be yourself is almost like the new school of thought, because that uniqueness, that genuineness will attract people to what you do.
Hopefully, but I think it's the only way you can actually achieve anything anyway. If you're pretending to do something, it won't be natural, it won't come easily. So I think it probably is even more pronounced in music, because you really can't emulate somebody else, because it has to be something you hear inside. Yeah.
Fantastic. So for me, finding your passion and being yourself, and how that translates to life. Fabulous.
Completely.
Carol.
Yeah, Claire, I have to say, very similar from my point of view, because obviously we need the passion in order to move forward, and determination. But I think also it's around the magic and the person that you are that instills in other people in their lives, and it's lovely. And you know, it's a pleasure to know you. And I'm always impressed by the passion with which you drive yourself forward, and the difference and the changes that you make to these people's lives. And, you know, I've seen it from my own eyes in the church. And, you know, I just think also music and any other vehicle that makes you happy is something, you know, that I can take away from this today as anything that absorbs you, that you can just express who you are. So that's, you know, that's another nice reminder in life, because I think we need reminding about these things. And again, you know, to be you and focus on life being you. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much once again for being with us in this series and taking part in this series. Just take a moment, and we look forward to maybe catching up with you again in the future when you've got your choirs more up and running and got new choirs maybe on board.
Maybe come and listen.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both.